If you hold a lead for too long, you're going to lose opportunities, because remember, there's at least 15 other agents hunting for those same deals. If you if you transfer it to an agent too early, they're not going to do the follow-up, so you're going to lose those deals as well. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So how do you sow that line so that you can succeed? And the answer that we found is live transferring and having a quality assurance division that will follow up for the next 3 months.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the webinar. Come on in and let us know. Hey Jake, is the chat open for everyone? Because sometimes it's closed. Let me know if it's not. Please open it up. Oh, it is working. Sweet. Hey, let us know where you're coming in from, where you're watching us from in the chat. We love to know where people are tuning in. Today we got a great session for you. I'm just going to kick it off. We've got Rob and Aram. Did I say that right, Aram? Aram?
No, Nick, it's Aram.
Aram, Aram. I mean, I sounded it out as best I could.
It's been my entire life, 40 years on this earth, and I'm
Oh, I don't mean to continue the trend, so I apologize. We've got these guys from the Lucido group, the Lucido Global with Keller Williams. Their team is consistently number 1 or number 2, definitely top 3 in the company, over and over again, with over $1 billion in sales last year. And they're very heavy on ISAs. So working with ISAs is definitely a proven strategy for growing your business, but it's one of the hardest things to master. A lot of agents hire ISAs and they don't know how to train them. They don't know how to structure it because it's a very difficult process. So without the right process in place, you basically risk wasting a lot of money. It can cost agents a fortune not doing it the right way. ISA operations require your time, resources, guidance to maximize their potential and really boost the number of appointments being set. I'm Nick Baldwin, co-founder of LabCoatAgents, and thank you for being here. I'm going to hand it over to Rob Lucido, and you guys should definitely pay attention to what Rob's going to say, because numbers don't lie, and he's got a model in place to help you. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can. So Rob, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us. I'm going to set up the slides. Aram, go ahead and introduce yourself real quickly, a little bit about your background, and then I'll have the slides ready and dive in.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Robert. I'm Aram Shwani, the VP of Sales here with Lucido Global. My first year on the real estate side of things, I spent the last 10 years in the finance world. Spent the greater part of my career with Rocket Mortgage, senior director there, top team. Went through that whole background, learning the finance side, ran into Robert and Bob at an event through Chime, through the CRM. We had some synergy, and I came into the fold to try to build out the ISA program. Innately, it's something I learned on the Rocket side of things, where they have a foundation. From the foundation of their company, it starts with an ISA-like program.
Thanks, Ram. All right, guys, just to give you a little bit lay of the land for today. Today, we're going to give you a bit of the behind the scenes look of our ISA operation and how it's generated over 2.3 billion of opportunity over the last 3 years. What it's going to look like is I'm going to present for about 20 to 25 minutes, lay out the foundation, the framework, so that you guys can succeed with a very difficult, venture, which is running ISAs. And then after that, we'll open it up to Q&A, fireside chat. So be sure to mark down your questions, throw them in the chat box, be ready. I'm sure you'll have a lot. We'll answer the best ones first. So that being said, as Nick said, ISA operation, if you model it out, is the best path forward, especially given what we're seeing going on in the market and trends. That being said, it's very difficult to do. So to start, if you're running ISAs or you're looking to run ISAs, the first block of what we're going to dive into are all the challenges that you are facing or are going to face and why running ISAs, especially in real estate, is so challenging. The first is that there is no immediate ROI. Chris Smith over at Curator, basically, he explicitly says in his book, if you're looking for immediate ROI, quit now. Don't even get started. Save yourself the money because you're just going to light it on fire and quit before you ever have a chance of having it click and generating the ROI that the model can forecast. To break that down, even if you fall on a unicorn and you get a deal one, it's still going to take you 30 to 90 days to close that opportunity, especially if they're doing a rent back. This was very prevalent in our market over the last couple of years. That being said, on average, you're looking around 7 months to convert a lead, which is even elongated now given the interest rate climate we're in. And then beyond that, it's 100% basically dependent upon your conversion effectiveness. In other words, if you're not doing the right things that we'll lay out in today's presentation, your average time to convert will be never. Next, ISAs is a niche role. If I were to ask you, how much would someone have to pay you to make 150 calls per day, 5 days a week, every week? The answer would probably be, and you can throw it in the chat box, the answer would probably be a very large number, because the answer is if you're in production and you went out and made $150 per day, you made this your whole world, the chances are you would make a ton of money because your upside is unlimited. You're making the GCI. You would make far more than any ISA in real estate would make. So the question becomes, well, then why aren't you doing it? And part of that has to do with that it is a niche role. It's very mundane. It's very draining to go in and make that many dials every day, every week. So the first thing is understanding that it's a difficult role to recruit to and to keep people in. And the next part of that is not all sales positions are the same. You can contrast an OSA, an outside sales agent, like an agent in real estate or a car salesman or a jewelry salesman, whatever it may be. Being out in the field face-to-face with clients is fundamentally different than being an ISA. There's a 73855 rule, which comes from Albert Mehrabian out of University of California. And this basically says that only 7% of communication is verbal. The rest is how you communicate those words, and 55% comes from your body language. So if you're an inside sales position, we have to have eyes wide open of what we're asking them to do and tailor our expectations around that. We're asking our ISAs to make the hardest sale possible, which is to strictly communicate with that 7% and win deals for you. Next is that it's a very high turnover position. This is partially due because that niche role we just talked about. Typically, you're looking around 2 years in the role if someone's successful. And then secondly, there's a high demand for the role. You can see from a study here on the right-hand side from LinkedIn, the number two position in terms of job demand was salesperson. And you have to have eyes wide open, again, that compensation can look different across industries, particularly in the SaaS market where they have larger margins. So you're not just recruiting inside sales agents within the real estate space, but across all industries. Let's go back to the left-hand side here. And this is from a study out of DePaul University, which found in inside sales people, there was 27% annual turnover. Now, this is taken from sales forces which larger size, but don't think that's any excuse. It's actually even worse for smaller sales operations. So what this basically means, best case scenario, 1 out of 4 people will leave your team every year. And what they found was every time there was job turnover, it cost the company about $100,000 in either direct expense or lost revenue. So if you're running a small ISA operation and you lose one person, it grinds to a halt. Your ISA program is now out of production and you've lost all that revenue until you find someone, pay to, the job hunt, pay to hire them, pay to train them. And then once you ramp them up over 4 to 6 months and they finally get up to peak production, you've lost a lot of money in that time frame. So having eyes wide open around the high turnover rate is another very apparent challenge. Next has to do with career pathing and culture and camaraderie. If I were to ask you how much camaraderie is there in a game of solitaire, it's pretty much the same answer as if you're running an ISA operation of 1 or maybe 2 people. You know, most teams that are looking to get an ISA, they're looking not even to get, 1 foot in. It's like 1 toe in. They're going to make a hire and like just hope it works. But, your success there is completely dependent upon that individual. And we'll get into that in a second. But even if that person's successful, there is no team. There is no camaraderie. There is no career pathing and upward trajectory for that individual, at least in a traditional sense. So if you're running a small ISA operation, it's for many reasons, it's even harder and even more of a mundane and even more of a taxing role to be in, because they don't have that camaraderie that's going to help them essentially tolerate the challenges on a day-to-day basis of doing the same thing and being rejected 97 out of 100 times. All right. Now, even if you're successful in your initial venture in the ISA operation, eventually it will come that you have to hire management. So let's give you a quick example here. Let's say you have an ISA making $50,000 a year, which means you're going to have to close 10 deals a year to cover your costs. Let's say that person sells 15 houses and you make 25 grand. So you go out and say, hey, this is good. Imagine how much money we can make. We can make 50,000 or more if we go out and hire another ISA. And that ISA now has to close 10 deals to break even. But as you grow your program, it'll create increasing need for management. No crew likes a rudderless ship. So you'll have to go out and hire a captain, or you will have to make the concerted decision to step away from production or your other management expectations to such an extent that you can make ISA operations pretty much your whole world. So that you go out and hire an ISA manager, let's say that's going to cost you 75 grand. So now you have to close an additional 15 deals just to cover your costs. But here's the rub. The ISA manager is not in production themselves. Their only value to the organization comes from the increase in productivity of those they're managing. So this means that those 15 deals have to come from those other 2 ISAs, 7.5, call it 8 deals each. And this is another pain point. You start pushing that rock up the hill, and then you get to the next cliff, and you find out, hey, you scaled, you had initial success, you scaled, and now you hit a roadblock and you're losing tens of thousands of dollars because your ISA manager isn't delivering at least 15 additional deals from those he's managing. Next comes to technology. Now, just to be very blunt, I'm not a Chime employee. They didn't ask me to say this at all. I'm speaking from firsthand. When we had first attempted to start our ISA operation, we were operating on Boomtown. And to put it bluntly, it was a train wreck. We were forced to do workaround after workaround after workaround, which inevitably led to breakdowns. If you're looking to run an ISA operation and to scale it, you need to make sure that your technology is dialed in, or otherwise you're going to be forced to tailor your work practice, your work processes to your tech. In other words, you're going to have to change how you do business to accommodate the limitations of your tech. The things that we're doing now are only possible because of what we're achieving because of Chime and Lucrative and what it allows our ISA team to do. Next is margin of error. Your margin of error in inside operations or inside sales operations is very thin. Here's 2 examples. Let's say you're a car salesman and your target is to close 50% of deals. You close 49. It's a 2% miss of goal. Chances are you're probably still happy. You're probably still getting your bonus. Right-hand side, let's say your goal is to close 2% of leads you capture. You come in at 1%. You've missed your goal by 50% and you're probably losing thousands of dollars. Inside sales operation, lead conversion does not tolerate many mistakes. So make sure your processes are dialed in. And all of this can lead you feeling like Sisyphus, just constantly pushing that rock up the hill, and it just gets heavier and heavier as you go on. This illusion that you're going to create an ISA code, you're going to crack the code, and then just replicate it over and over again is myth. You're going to constantly be innovating, constantly be building a new machine, taking advantage of new technologies and new opportunities if you're doing it properly. And all of this is just for one step of the conversion process, 1 out of 5. All of that focus, all of that investment and management is going into just generating opportunities or appointments set. Then you have 4 other conversion processes, steps after that, which entirely will determine your success and your ROI. So if it's all that challenging and it's going to take all that much work and your margin of error is so thin, why even do it? And the question should be then, can you really afford not to? And let me show you why. Coming from NAR, 51% of buyers found their house they purchased online. 97% of all buyers use the internet to find a house in that process. And you can look at the generational trends here. You can see it basically climb in virtually every generation, every recent generation to 97+%. On top of that, last year, there was 5 million houses sold roughly. 12% of them were FSBOs. 12% of them were new builds. So there's about 3.9 net seller opportunities available. On the buy side, 86% purchased with an agent, which means there's 4.3 million net buyer opportunities. In totality, in 2022, there was about 8.25 side opportunities available for real estate agents to transact. If you cross-reference that to the number of leads sold, some estimates have it over 200 million. I was a little conservative and said 150. So if there's 8.25 million opportunities, 150 million leads sold, that means best case scenario, only 5% of the leads transacted. But then the question becomes, what percentage of those leads were actually new leads? Because there's only 330 million people in the world. So best case scenario, you could run this play for 2 years before you're reselling the same leads. And since Zillow came onto the scene, they've been running this play. Now there's Zillow and tons of other aggregators. Most ad spend doesn't even go to Zillow. It goes to Realtor and, it goes to Facebook and Google. About 56% of all ad spend. So if you're trying to answer the question, what percentage were actually new leads? Here's the best way that I found. Let's look at the number of first-time home buyers, which is 26%. So that means there was 1.3 million net new buyer leads, or roughly 1%. So if only 1%, according to this assumes that every first-time home buyer was sold for the first time, which isn't true. But best case scenario, only 1% of leads were new. What's going on with other 99%? And this is what it comes down to and why ISA operations are so pivotal. If people are beginning their search online as opposed to traditional ways, if the trends are pushing even more in that way, the opportunity is not in the lead generation, it's in the lead conversion, because 99% of leads are already in circulation, sitting in your accounts, and those leads are transacting, you're just not converting them. So we'll get into managing the ISA workflow right now. Now, the first phase of that process is lead generation. We're not going to dive into that now, but I just wanted to give you 2 quick resources that you can go and use after this. The first is just to validate it. We were actually just selected as a case study by Google for how we generate leads. And you can go ahead and scan this QR code right now to take you to a free webinar on how we generate leads. This was also done with LabCoatAgents. So go ahead, scan that QR code. I'll give you about 5 more seconds. That'll be a good resource for helping you to visualize how you generate leads and how that funnels into conversion. Okay. Now let's get into the conversion part of things. You can see this is how we conceptualize the conversion funnel. You have 3 steps in lead generation and 5 steps in lead conversion. In total, 8 steps. The problem is most ISA operations are just trying to maximize the number of leads captured and the number of appointments set, and hoping that some sticks against the wall and that leads to more deals closed. In reality, there's this black veil that's cast over everything from Q2, Q3, C2 to C4. So basically, the lead quality measures and the lead conversion measures. And as a result, if you're not managing, if you're not measuring, you can't manage properly. And so what's leading into this is an incredible loss of deals won and revenue at every step in the process that you're not managing. I can give you a couple examples that we've caught recently. We have a quality assurance division. I'll get into that in a minute here. But we just saved $1 million deal because our quality assurance team caught a deal that was not being followed up with the agent. So we engaged, called the client, reassigned, went under contract, $1 million sale. I guarantee you're losing tens of thousands of dollars of opportunity every quarter, possibly every month, because you're not properly measuring and managing the process. I'll back up for 1 second. Now, just to hammer one additional point here, this is an 8-step process, and there's also at least 3 people involved: the ISA, the agent, and probably a manager. And this process legitimately is probably going to take around a year, 12 months. A lot can go wrong when you're dealing with an 8-step process, 3 people involved over 12 months. So keep that in the back of your mind and make sure your systems and your machine is dialed in. A part of that for us comes down to this principle that we got from the book Unreasonable Hospitality, which is the 1-inch rule. And this, you can go ahead and read the quote here, but basically what this encapsulates is that you have to maintain your focus down to the very last inch, because if the server and the dining staff lost focus and put the plate down incorrectly and the plating collapsed or it messed up the presentation of the dish, they weren't just sabotaging the plating. They were sabotaging the perfection that was created from weeks, if not months, if not years worth of work from not just the dining room staff, but the kitchen staff, the ingredient selection, the chef, all the training that went into it, the meticulous attention to detail. And so for us, we have this 1-inch rule. If you want to succeed over a 12-month process, 8 steps with 3 people plus, every person needs to be dialed into the last inch. Heavily recommend that book, Unreasonable Hospitality. What does that actually look like? First, speed to lead. Conversion rates are 8 times higher when you call within the first 5 minutes, but only 1% of leads have that response time. You can see on the right-hand side a breakdown of what it looks like if you call within the first minute, second minute, and third minute. It's even higher. In all, calling within the first 5 minutes is 21 times more effective than calling after 30 minutes. So if you're prepared to buy a lead, why are you not ensuring that you're prepared, your team's prepared to call within the first 5 minutes? To make it even hit home harder, 80% of sellers met with one agent before listing. 67% of buyers met with one agent before buying. In the last 5 years, this averages to about 70%. So if you're first to the punch, you have a 70 to 80% chance of closing and winning that deal. To show you this here a little bit, what we'll do right now is I'm going to go to lucidoglobal.com. Let me log out here.
You know what? A simpler way of saying that, Rob, is that I always say this: the leads don't suck. The systems or lack thereof that you have in place do. You know what I mean? Like a lot of agents are complaining, oh, these leads suck. I can't get in touch with them. But then they don't have the systems. They don't have the platform. They don't have the technology. They don't have the people. If you're investing in leads and you don't have a system in place, you might as well just, send me and Rob that money instead. And we'll spend it somewhere.
We'll take it. So what I did was I just went ahead and registered on a lead. So you can see the speed to lead of our ISA team. And whenever they call, I'll pick up the phone and answer for you guys. But let me go ahead and back up. Hello? Yeah, this is Marco. Hey, this is Robert. Thanks for calling. I'll call you back. All right, so that took, maybe 15 seconds for ISAs to call. And that's the mindset you need to have, where they're that dialed in so that every lead is going to have a response time within the first 5 minutes during business hours. Okay. Let me pop back in and finish off these slides.
Question, you just said something interesting there. during business hours? What do you guys do when it's outside of regular business hours?
All right. So another opportunity that comes from the size of our program, we have hubs across the US. So our non-business hours, I guarantee, are a lot less than yours because we have hubs on the West Coast, the East Coast, the Central, and throughout the US. So we stagger time zones. So we have multiple people on coverage from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And off hours, we have AI and other mechanisms in place to make sure that we have someone engaging at that time. All right, let me see where those slides went because they disappeared on me.
Hey, Rob, it's good that when you submitted that lead, it's good that someone actually called you, because if they didn't, then
Took a little bit of a gamble there.
we have to break some kneecaps.
All right. Yeah, they would have gone through some retraining if they hadn't called fast. All right, it looks like I accidentally X'd out of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the slides again to finish off. Are there any questions, Nick, you want me to answer right now before I finish off?
There's no specific questions. I think everybody is just in awe of, like, and in shock of, exactly how intricate a great ISA system is. Like, that's what I think. You know what I mean? I mean, it's okay. Here's a question from Aaron. What do you do through the recruiting process of hiring someone?
So I'll turn that over for Aram. We're actually heading in that direction right now. What you just said before and this all comes down to the management side. So once we get there, I'll make sure that we answer that question head on. And during the Q&A, we're going to be pretty transparent with you guys. But let me just, for the sake of time, go through and finish. Okay. So there was a couple things. So we just finished that. So follow-up grit. Now, even if you're dialed in within the first few minutes and you're maximizing your conversion rate, you have to come to grips with the reality that the majority of leads will not be converted within the first 5 minutes. And that means your follow-up cadence has to be dialed in. In fact, 80%, this is true across all salespeople, but especially realtors, 80% of available meetings, deals, winnable deals that are on the table, you're losing out on 80% of them by having less than 5 attempted customer interactions. Optimal conversion rate comes with 14 client interactions. So speed of lead just gets you to first base. Then you basically have to have a dialed in follow-up cadence where you're continuing to deliver value if you want to achieve above average conversion rates. And I'll give you just a couple examples here. So here is one. This was a multi-million-dollar lead that we converted our ISA called 32 times. You can see it scroll through. I'm not BSing at all. Just no answer, no answer, no answer. Just persistence to get that person on the phone and then engaging them properly to convert the deal. Here's another one. This one was 33 in the system, but it's actually even more because he blocked our ISA number. So our ISA called from a different number, and that's how we got him on the phone. This was a $2 million buyer, cash buyer. So this, you can see 33 calls here. No answer, no answer, no answer. That's the type of persistence that our ISA team is known for, to basically make sure that we're going to win every possible winnable deal. Here's another specific anecdote. So we had a lead that registered back in 2018. It was assigned to an agent. This was before we had our quality assurance division. Otherwise, we would have caught this sooner. We caught this back in June, and our QA engaged, called the client, and the client answered saying, "Thank you so much for calling. I need to sell as soon as possible." We reassigned that lead to an agent, and it sold basically 2 weeks later. That saved us $9,000. That's one specific example how I guarantee your agents are costing you thousands of dollars.
So there's a lot of questions here about pay structure and bonuses and such. I don't know if those are questions you want to get into. It might get you into the weeds a little bit. So you let me know if you want to move on from those type, because I think it's really, I don't know, is it market specific? Is it team specific?
It's market specific. It's also tailored around how you're running your operation. Let me get to that in the Q&A after I finish this part right here.
Okay.
I want them to have a sense for, the breadth of what we run, and therefore our pay structures are different. So this is just to show you just one example of, it's not just trying to get to 14 client interactions. It's high quality interactions, because The reality is it doesn't get easier with each follow-up. So if you're looking at email effectiveness and as a reply rate as our variable here, you can see how the reply rate steadily decreases with each additional email. Excuse me, this is true across the board. Now to circle back to what you were getting at there, Nick, this is how we run our ISA org chart. So on the left-hand side, we have our junior ISAs, senior ISAs, excuse me, and our client services manager. Now, the biggest problem, in regards to that high turnover comes from disruption in the service level for our partners. If you're running an ISA operation, you know this firsthand. One ISA leaves, you're shorthanded, you can't have coverage, whatever it may be. We've solved that for our partners by running our own ISA school. We call it Flight School. And Aram was instrumental in building this out. So when we're bringing in classes of 6 ISAs and putting them through our training program, legitimately, we're keeping 1 to 3 of them and then putting them on a probationary period where they have to prove themselves both in effort and effectiveness. And so in this way, we constantly have a bench, so you're never left without coverage, and we're constantly top grading the skill level. Those ISAs all report to Aram. On the right, in the middle here, we have our quality assurance division. And their responsibility, as I'll get into, is to basically monitor every opportunity once it's in the hands of the agent. Our team leaders, business development coaches, and agents all report to our QA division, who in turn reports to our VP of sales. And I have the privilege of overseeing this whole operation and working closely with Aram on that. So for the ISA side, our base support includes 2 ISAs for each team. We stagger time zones, like I talked about, to have maximized hours of coverage, 6 days a week, and we're also multilingual. So chances are we can handle any client you're working with. We cover, for example, Spanish, English, French, Mandarin, and so forth. And we also hire to a need. So if you work with a different demographic, we hire to a need. On the QA side, our QA is responsible for monitoring client engagement, agent accountability, ISA accountability, and all of that goes into an effort where we provide our TLs with a QA report every single Monday on every single opportunity that's been pushed out with a status update. And we review that live with them every other week. If you want to go ahead and see what our QA report looks like, you can scan that QR code there. It's going to give you our exact template of what we use to track conversion and compliance over time. So I'll give you a few seconds there to go ahead and register for that free template. Okay, the sales manager side. And this is where over the long term, disproportionate gains are made by having a really good sales manager. And Aram can speak to this firsthand. One of the biggest problems people make is they try to fill a gap with someone already on their bench. Typically, it's an operations or HR person. There's a big difference between being a personnel manager and being a sales manager. A sales manager's job is to drive sales, drive revenue by properly managing their people. A personnel manager just manages people. Those are 2 different things, and that disconnect makes them often not the best person to run an inside sales division, which is even harder to run for all the reasons we talked about than an outside sales force. For example, top challenges: 17% reported difficulty staying motivated and 13% reported mental health or burnout issues. So if you're an effective sales manager, you have to be very skilled at managing the morale of your team. And a big part of that is also having a larger team to manage and help create that sense of camaraderie. Next, a sales manager has to be proactive, not reactive. Aram, on a daily basis from 9 to 5, or he works hard. His hours are long, and he's also starts at like 6 a.m. his time. So during those hours, this is his whole world. He's tracking every opportunity to make sure an ISA is on it, following the proper SOPs. If you're reactive, in other words, if you have an ops manager who just basically sits a step removed and then at month's close will basically run through appointments set and met, you're by definition reactive. And if we talked about how important speed to lead is and proper follow-up, if you're 30, 60, 90 days, a year trailing, chances are you've already lost that opportunity. You need someone who's boots on the ground, managing every opportunity on a minute-by-minute basis. Next, a sales manager has to be very effective at moving the middle. One of the biggest problems is people tend to either gravitate towards the squeaky wheels or the people that are the highest performing. Because if you're coaching someone that's highest performing, you conflate some worth back to you. And as a result, the messy middle, the 70% of your org chart gets typically ignored. In reality, you should be focusing on that 70% the most. The C levels, the bottom of the barrel, they're typically there for a reason. They're not a fit for the role and their time's limited. Put them on a PIP and see themselves out the door, or see them step up and move into the middle. Conversely, your middle, that 70%, Harvard Business Review found that quality coaching of that 70% can move quota attainment or productivity by 19%. So by properly managing and coaching your middle producers, that's where you'll find the biggest gains for your organization. And to wrap up, I'll pose a question to you. Are you trying to tell time, or are you trying to build a clock? Two different things. Time telling is going out and hiring an ISA and putting them on an island and hoping they work. Clock building is going out and building a machine so that regardless of who is in the ISA position, you're going to have a base level of success, and then you can scale from there. So if you're going to get into ISA operations, don't just think, hey, I'm going to hire an ISA. Think about the systems and the processes, the machine that you're building for long-term success. Thanks for listening. I know that went a little long.
No, that's okay. Mike wants to know if he could get a copy of your workout program, and what whey protein are you drinking on a regular basis?
You can reach out to me after hours.
Oh, that's a different webinar.
Different webinar, yeah. We'll go over hypertrophy and metabolic critics. All right, so open up for Q&A. Dig in what you guys want to dig into.
Yeah, let's see. There's a few questions. So what do you do if somebody tells you to stop calling? Do you take them out of the lead pool, or do you keep them on some sort of campaign, or what?
We always respect that. You never want them to get into whatever it's TPCA, whatever, jail. Now, that being said, pay attention to what they're actually saying. If they're saying to unsubscribe from email, unsubscribe them from email. That doesn't mean you can't call them.
Right.
So make sure, like, for example, we're really good with our smart plans. Our open rates are 60, upwards of 70%. We just had someone that responded to a text message I saw before I got on that unsubscribed. Awesome, no problem. We won't text you. We still have their email. The plan's going to continue on the email. So make sure you pay attention to that, but always respect their wishes.
Yeah, that's a good point, because, you know, agents will see someone unsubscribe from an email and just not ever reach out to them. They didn't unsubscribe from text or phone calls. You know, they unsubscribe from emails, or, you know, and they could be the other way around.
You have to understand, you have to assume that your agents are going to look for every reason why they shouldn't call a lead. Why it's too hard to convert, why they'll never convert it, while it's not their time, or why they rather do anything else than call that lead. So if they see something unsubscribe, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to say, oh, I can't call that person.
Mm-hmm.
Our ISAs don't, that's not acceptable.
So someone did ask, how do you recruit a great ISA? So, you know, that's a long-winded question probably, but like, what's one or two things that you look for in somebody?
Ram, you want to take that one?
Sure. During the interview process, I'm looking at someone that...
Wait, by the way, I just want to say before you continue, we're all drinking energy drinks. I've got C4, Aram has Prime, and Robert has Ghost. What the hell is going on here? We're like, woo, they
should all be sponsoring this.
All right, sorry about that. I just thought it was funny. We're all hyped up on caffeine right now.
No, you're good, Nick. I got, you know, like Robert said, I'm up at 6, so this is midday for me. I need to make sure I have what it takes to pull along. But no. I'm looking for someone with a certain amount of grit, someone that wants to get into sales. They don't technically have to have a sales background. I feel confident in the system we built out to teach them some foundational pieces on how to overcome certain objections and getting people to interact with us on the phone. So it sounds cliche, but I look for grit and that determination and wanting to earn like a high living when it comes to monetarily make ends meet, make money. I need people motivated to make money. And and I keep it, if they can't answer that question, that can be off-putting to me. Like, just say it. It's okay. I know it's taboo, but this is a sales role. I want to hear that from them.
Yeah, totally. Someone has a great question here. Cody is an ISA in Denver. He receives about 650 new leads a year and a database of 5,000. His best year is 46 closed leads. What is a typical number for your ISAs to close? I mean, the ISAs aren't closing, but you mean setting appointments? Is that basically what you mean?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer, but I mean, we actually built out a model. So every team that we're partnering with, we give them a 5-month forecast for the number of opportunities that they can expect over that time. But it's not just a matter of number of leads, it's lead source, lead quality, and so forth. So you really have to break it out by source and different tranches because they will see different conversion rate. But if you're closing 46 deals a year, that's pretty solid, especially off that database. So well done, Cody.
Yeah, he said appointments set to appointments closed. All right, that's awesome. There was a good question here. Are the ISAs setting appointments for agents, and how deep in the funnel do they go before handing it off to an agent?
Okay. So, go ahead, Aram.
I was just going to say a piece of it is, which Robert, you can kind of interject on. There's a way things have been done that I kind of shifted away from as soon as I came into the fold. People were setting appointments in agents' calendars for when they were going to communicate with the client. One thing I immediately changed is that we're going to hand over the client live, why emotions are high and why it's on top of mind, and not waiting for a day or 2 days out when the probability of the client answering goes down precipitously. It's just going to get it, conversion will get worse and worse. So that's an immediate change that I brought into our system that we've seen some significant success. Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, it was the biggest anomaly, and we were guilty of this for our first couple of years. Virtually every other sales industry on the inside sales front, BDRs, SDRs, they're going to live transfer. And yet the prevailing method in real estate tends to be set an appointment on their calendar and then hopefully they show up. So switching to live transfer has made a tremendous impact on obviously our appointment met rate, but more so our conversion to signed. And we basically train our ISAs and our agents once our ISA live transfers and pulls the agent into the call, they work as a team to set that appointment in person. And then our quality assurance team is going to pick it up starting at least at the most 12 hours later for the first client interaction, and then following up for at least the next 3 months following routine reports. So to back up to answer the larger question, which was how deep into the funnel, if you hold a lead for too long, you're going to lose opportunities because remember, there's at least 15 other agents hunting for those same deals. If you if you transfer it to an agent too early, they're not going to do the follow-up, so you're going to lose those deals as well. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So how do you sow that line so that you can succeed? And the answer that we found is live transferring and having a quality assurance division that will follow up for the next 3 months.
Just real quick to interject, if a lot of people are asking for the recording, if you go subscribe to the LabCoatAgents YouTube channel, it'll be posted there in a couple days and you'll be notified. There is a question, how does Lucrative integrate with Chime, and why not just use Chime?
So, well, first of all, I mean, we did use Chime for a number of years. Lucrative, I just want to be very clear, is built with Chime. It's our version of Chime. We've built so much on top of it that we actually rebranded it with them. So we created a separate product for our organization. But that being said, it's still built and powered by Chime. So if you're not using Chime, you absolutely should have. Lucrative is only available for our organization. So that's a separate conversation if you want to get Lucrative.
Love it.
I know you're humble about this, Robert, but Lucrative is the UI and the interface. Everything that we have on there is the best CRM I've ever seen. I work for Rocket, which is a behemoth. You can pick it up within a couple hours. The client interaction, all the feedback it gives you allows you to prospect intentionally. For the person that was asking about ISAs using Lucrative or Chime, yeah, exclusively. We have to use everything in the CRM, and we hold our clients and our agents and our ISAs accountable to utilizing it, so we can see in real time what's happening, and then we can prospect intentionally instead of blindly.
Love it. Sweet.
Lots of good questions in the chat box.
There's a ton of questions. Hey, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, I mean, I don't know how much time you guys have to, email people back with a lot of these questions, but how can they reach you?
All right. Well, there is one other option, and this is actually coming up in about less than 2 weeks. So Chime is actually going to be launching essentially a coaching division. And so I'll have the privilege of leading essentially a community called Scaling Lucrative Businesses. So this will be open to all Chime users. So if you want to go ahead, you can scan this QR code. There's no obligation today, but it will lock in your early bird pricing and get you a sizable discount there. So if you do want additional questions, so this community will have 2 sessions per month. One is a training like this, and another is a live Q&A. So we'll dig deep into those specific issues with, no holds barred. So if this is interest, if you want additional coaching and you will have a lot of questions, go ahead and scan that QR code and see if you want to join the community. It'll be available on September 19th.
That's awesome. Definitely go ahead and do that. All right, guys. Well, we are going to, so people say the QR code's not working. Do you have a link that you can drop in there?
Yeah, let me get that. And while I pull that up, there's a question about dialers. We use the highest end dialer, but not the 3-line dialer, because we approach every lead as a client. It's a human being on the other end. If you're calling 3 people at the same time, it tends to create the psychology of, hey, this is just, 1 out of 100 rather than a 1-to-1 relationship. So we use the unlimited dialers in Chime. And I will pull up, apologize, I tested the QR code. Let me pull up the
put the QR code back up. It's working. People just probably don't know how to do it. Agents and technology, they don't typically go together very well.
Awesome. All right. So any other looming questions that you want to tackle before we hop off for the day?
Let's see. Is there another great question to ask? Well, Lauren, your sister, says that a CRM use is extremely crucial. If your agents and ISAs aren't using your CRM diligently, your ISA program is not going to be successful. Okay, so are your ISAs, I got this question a lot. Are your ISAs licensed or not?
Depends on the market. Depends on the individual. It's a mix. It's never a bad idea to get them licensed, but just make sure you're aware of what the requirements are in the state you're operating in.
Yeah, I know every state could be different, and there's also different rules around whether they're calling your database or whether you have someone calling expireds and FSBOs. A lot of times, if they're calling out to expireds and FSBOs, the state will require them. If they're going through a database and calling incoming leads, they may not need to be licensed, but you want to check with your state.
Yeah. Corey Lang has a question around lead pillars. There's a lot of focus on how many lead levers you have. Pay less attention to how many levers and pay more attention to the best levers that you have. We do all of our own lead generation internally. We don't pay anything to Zillow or Realtor at all. So we generate all of our own leads with Chime's ads team, and that's how we got selected as a case study by Google. So if you're a Chime user and you're looking to generate leads, heavily recommend you use their team. It's fully transparent. You'll have reports on a monthly basis, and you'll have transparency every day on what the campaigns are doing.
Awesome.
A question around hiring ISAs. First of all, it's very hard to identify someone that's a fit for the role. So essentially, put more eggs in the basket. So we hire classes of like 4 to 6, sometimes as high as 8. And you create that camaraderie and a sense of competition again between them. So if you're looking to hire ISAs, see if you can squeeze out the ability to hire at least 2 or 3 at one time and have them come in as a cohort rather than hiring one at a time.
All right, awesome. Well, this has been a great session. We went a little bit over, but it was worth it. Thanks you guys for being here, Robert, and I'm going to say it wrong. Aram.
Rob.
Oh, I got it on the second try. Well, technically a 5th try. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you being here. Go to lucrative.com if you want more information. And you can always find Rob on Facebook if you have any questions. And this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel on LabCoatAgents. So go subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Have a great day.
You too.